right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Medium Cool Show. Today, we're going to travel back to the year 2008, right before the world collapsed in its economic crisis. Do you remember where you were?
Yeah, I was in middle school. Who are you?
I was in middle school, but I
You're
was
in
in
China.
China.
Yeah.
I was in China.
I was in Massachusetts.
Yeah. But today, we have another Jean-Claude Van Damme film for you guys today. And this one's a little bit different.
It's a little different.
Yeah, because we're going to be talking about JCVD.
The window didn't explode right. I'm 47 years old, and it's very difficult for me to do everything in one shot.
Directed by, I don't want to mess up his name, Mabrouk el Mechri.
Who's also Belgian?
Yeah, he's like Belgium Arabic.
Yeah.
He's Belgium Arabic, but I think he's in the movie. I think he plays like
Oh,
the
is he the
shop
video
guy.
store guy?
Yeah.
That's really cool. Damn.
Yeah, he's like the video store guy who's a big fan of Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yeah, you can tell everyone making this movie was a fan of Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Mm-hmm.
And
Except for him.
Except for him, that's true.
Yeah.
This is like the ultimate reflection on his career.
Mm-hmm.
This film gets super meta, and it's unlike any other Jean-Claude Van Damme movie because he's not really a badass in it. He's more just playing himself, having been a badass. It's definitely his best acted role.
For sure.
For sure. It gets very introspective, and having seen a lot of Jean-Claude Van Damme movies, I felt like this was like the perfect movie for me, you know, to like not cap off his career, but to sum up an aspect of his career.
Yeah,
You know?
well, we get to kind of look at where he was in 2008, right? Mm-hmm. You know, the last movie that we talked about was Sudden Death from 1995, and that's the latest film that we've talked about from him, and that was in the peak of his career, like the mid 90s. And the thing about JVCD, it was like the first movie that was released wide since a movie he did in 1999 called Universal Soldier 2, The Return.
Yeah.
But with this one, you can tell that it has a more of a film festival art house feel to it.
Yeah, definitely.
Because it had it was playing a lot of festivals, which is really different from a typical Jean-Claude Van Damme action movie where it's just going to be released wide release, you know. And this movie only made like $1 million, but it cost like $10 million, even though it was wide release. So it's kind of telling, like, yeah, like Jean-Claude Van Damme did have a major fall off after like the 90s.
This movie cost $10 million?
Yeah.
Damn.
That's what it said. But it kind of makes sense because you have that big ass action scene in there. There's a lot of people, a lot of extras. There's like action sequences.
Yeah.
He probably, you know, it wasn't like a small movie. It is an action crime movie, but it is more of a self-reflective, honest, French New Wave inspired take on a Jean-Claude Van Damme film where it's like self-referential. And there are just like, he himself is playing Jean-Claude Van Damme. Jean-Claude Van Damme is playing Jean-Claude Van Damme as himself. And he gets caught up in a robbery in a post office in Brussels.
Yeah.
So he returns home to Brussels, where he's from, after he left over 20 years before this film takes place to go to America and become a huge action star.
Yeah. He really wasn't doing well in the United States at this point. Like, you can tell that his like career is kind of on a downward trajectory just for his character, the Jean-Claude Van Damme in the film. You know, like he does that huge action scene at the beginning, that one take, and there's that director that's like, this man, fuck this guy, thinks he can boss me around just because he brought John Woo to Hollywood. You know, and no one respects him, and he's like, I don't play well in one takes, like blah blah. No one's listening. He doesn't give a fuck, really.
Yeah.
He's losing custody of a child.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's just really down on his luck. And then this bank robbery happens, and they're like, "You're the muscle from Brussels." You know, he's like definitely treated as like this celebrity, even to the bank robbers.
Yeah.
Like everyone looks up to him in Belgium.
Yeah.
But it's definitely, you know, him reflecting on his career and his life and what it means to be a movie star, to be a hero to people, and the downfalls that come with that pursuit.
Yeah.
There's that scene, the one where he breaks the fourth wall.
Yeah, it's like a 6-minute take of him getting lifted up on like a crane, and you can see the lights, and it definitely breaks the illusion of cinema.
Yeah.
Which really totally goes against everything that Jean-Claude Van Damme is known for with his action movies.
I know. I was thinking that, like, if you like Jean-Claude Van Damme, Sudden Death, Lionheart, Bloodsport, I don't know if this is necessarily the movie for you unless you're truly like a Jean-Claude fan, Because this is such a different tone than what you're used to. When you turn on a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie, you want to have a fun time. You want to kind of zone out. It's easy. It's an easy watch. This is good for the fact that it's not an easy watch. It's more introspective and it's more meta, which some people might really appreciate. But just know, like, going into it, this is not your Jean-Claude Van Damme film, even though it's named after the namesake.
Yeah, but I think this one is the most artistic, the most creative, the most boundary-pushing Jean-Claude Van Damme film I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. It's really creative the way with the storytelling. It kind of does this Reservoir Dogs, multiple kind of timelines out of it's a non-linear film, which I really respect. And there's a lot of these, like, you get that crazy one take in the beginning when he's fighting everyone, but then you get a bunch of these really cool one take, multiple perspectives going down, and then you kind of see different angles and you learn more about the story. Like they say in the film, answers first, questions later. Mm-hmm. And you have all these like quotes for the different chapters, and it's like a different timeline, whether it's when he first arrives at the post office, or it's going back in time to when he's doing the custody battle. We have the Kramer versus Kramer shit in there, and we kind of learn that, oh, he wanted to go to the post office to get some cash so he could pay his lawyer to keep him on the case. Mm-hmm. Then he ends up getting into this predicament with the robbery.
Yeah.
And then he kind of becomes the hero / anti-hero by the end, because yes, he does save the day, but still he does do a little bit of extortion in order to get out of there, and he has to go to jail for 3 years by the end of it,
Yeah.
Which is a really realistic take on everything, because I feel like even in his action roles, he's like the hero by the end, but he breaks the law like a lot, and he would go to, like, realistically, he would go to prison for a lot of the shit that he does in his other movies.
Yeah, I love the ending scene. That's so real, dude. Like, this is, oh my god, it is his best acted film. Oh, yeah. But that ending scene where he just like is in prison, and he's like enjoying himself. Like, that fucking, Belgian prisons are so different than American prisons. Like, he's fucking having a good time in there and shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was great. It was great.
Yeah, and he's very honest about his career in this, because he does admit to the fact that he had a problem with drugs, and he had and during like the peak in like the mid 90s, I think 1985, he was spending $10,000 a week on cocaine.
Yeah.
And then apparently the next year he was like, I guess he got help, but I'm not really sure if he stopped, because a lot of those crazy shits that he got into, like in the late 90s with like Steven Seagal and chasing him around Florida and shit.
Wait,
I feel like he might have been, yeah, you know how like he went to Sylvester Stallone's party and Steven Seagal was there and he confronted him and he's like, let's go fight. And then Steven Seagal's like, okay, fine. And Sylvester Stallone's like, okay, if you're gonna fight, you gotta do it outside. You're not gonna do it in here. And then Jean-Claude Van Damme went outside and waited for an hour for Steven Seagal to come out, but he never came out. And then Jean-Claude went back into the house, and so Stallone's like, oh no, he left. And he's like, what? And then he like looked for him around like Miami and finally found him in a club, and then confronted him, and then Steven Seagal didn't want to fight him again, and then just like left, and then they don't know what happened after that.
That's so funny, dude. Steven Seagal's like, oh, all right, you got me. Let's go outside. Yeah. And he just leaves again.
Yeah. Yeah, but Steven Seagal always was fucking saying so much shit about him. He was like, he was asked, oh, do you think he's a real fighter or movie star? And he's like, can I slap you in your face?
Yeah,
he's like, can I laugh in your face? You know? That's what he would always just, every time Jean-Claude was brought up. But Jean-Claude was a real kickboxer champion.
Yeah, he was.
Whether or not he could fight an actual street fight, I mean, how do you even know that, right? But I know he can kick. He has accuracy. He's definitely not as fat Steven Seagal.
Yeah,
you
Steven
know?
Seagal's like out of shape and weird. He's a weird dude.
Yeah, and they make references to him in this movie,
Yeah.
too, which is really funny.
They're like, Steven Seagal got the part. It's like, how did he get the part? He agreed to cut off his ponytail. Fuck.
Yeah, yeah. But, I mean, it is telling that Jean-Claude Van Damme was a star shining brighter than so many other actors and movie stars, one of the highest paid actors of the 90s, and then, dude, just like, boom, end of the 90s, like, his last film, Universal Soldier 2, that was his last wide release until the JVCD or JCVD.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting to see that. Yeah, just because we talk about so many of his films now, and then we have this like going back to more of a contemporary film to see where he's at. But if you look this movie up online, it's like number one in like a lot of the top 10 Jean-Claude Van Damme films.
I get that. Yeah, I can see why. You know, it's so. It has like a wide angle of his whole career.
Yeah, it's a really
Yeah.
it's really cool, and I think it's really well shot. It's just everything just like works really well with it, and it was exciting to see. It was a fresh take. It does get a little bit like pretentious, artistic.
A little bit. Yeah.
It definitely is taking. It's definitely taking some liberties with like, I guess doing like a Jean-Luc Godard.
Yeah.
type
Well,
thing
I
with
mean,
it.
yeah.
Like I can see why it flopped.
Yeah, but it's also of the time, that kind of like indie, like the early 2000s indie wave.
Yeah, yeah, or
You know
like
what I
that
mean?
sort of French, the artist, and that
Yeah.
type of wave. Like it's definitely very European. It's very
Yeah.
very French. I mean, it is a
Yeah.
Brussels film, which is cool because he references it a lot. How he left Brussels to go be a movie star, and everyone's like, "You left your hometown. You left."
Yeah,
You know.
yeah.
And that was kind of interesting, and he probably deals with that a lot still. Like, or
Yeah.
that's probably what he was dealing with.
But I love that part. The fact that it's like he's criticized for leaving to go to Hollywood, and then he comes back and makes a indie film with Belgians.
Yeah.
You know, that's like that's really cool. He helps elevate them in the
Yeah.
end, which I really appreciated about this movie.
Yeah, yeah, it is. It's cool. It goes full circle, you know.
Yeah. Anyway,
Have you guys seen JVCD or JCVD, starring Jean-Claude Van Damme? Yeah, we've talked about a few of his films. Make sure you like and subscribe, and let us know what you want us to watch next. We should venture into some more other guys.
Yeah.
You know, we should check out some Steven Seagal films, especially the
Yeah.
early ones, because those
Yeah.
are pretty dope, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, they're fun to watch, you know?
yeah, we've definitely been on this wave for a while. If there's more Jean-Claude Van Damme films you want us to check out, just let us know. But I think we're nearing the next chapter of this action hero saga.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. Which action stars should we fuck with next, guys? Leave a comment below.